Unfortunately, a little somber ending to the first half there. Certainly wishing Dane Jackson all the best, but we do have some bets that we need to go over, so let's do that right now. The first thing I want to draw everybody's attention to is these pace splits down here. Because these coaches have been around with their teams for multiple years, we're pretty set on these pace splits, feel like they should be pretty accurate. And because Buffalo has such a significant halftime lead, then we're pretty comfortable with Tennessee, which is right here in the minus 0.23. I can highlight this in green, and Buffalo in green there. So should be right around a league average pace. So, the model accounts for that and everything as well. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're going to be with everything. One thing I should mention that I do need to pull up here, one of my colleagues pointed out, the biggest advantage in Buffalo might be the Bills' second half. Josh Allen, 42, 22, and 3 against the spread in the second half. So, they do like to keep their foot on the gas. They don't slow down that much, even with a big lead. So they could keep their foot on the gas. That may be one thing that you want to do, would take them. I'm looking more into the player props myself because we have a whole bunch of potential options here. So when I'm looking across the market, let me pull up my screen here. I'm just going to go through, and what you can see here is obviously the Bills should be a little more pass heavy, and Tennessee should be more rush heavy. And we've already seen Derrick Henry struggle to get rushing yards. Pre-game, the model like Derrick Henry to go under. I talked about this earlier on Green Dot Daily today, that Derrick Henry under on rushing attempts. I was leaning under 20.5. Right now, Derrick Henry is only at 8 rushing attempts. So if we think he probably stays under still, yes, they should rush a little bit more, but they're only projected, Tennessee is only projected to have another 11.5 rushing attempts for the whole game, which would keep Derrick Henry under that 20.5. And of course, he probably won't get all of those. Ryan Tannehill might grab one of those rushing attempts, for example. So if we look at that, then translate that into yardage. What I'm seeing here for the various player props is I'm seeing Derrick Henry at 45.5 rushing yards for the rest of the game. That's right in line with what we're projecting. So, I think that's probably an okay one to pass on. I thought maybe there would be an edge there, but now that the half wound down, doesn't seem to be an edge there. So let's look at Derrick Henry's rushing attempts, 16.5. And if I come over here, we are projecting 8.8 more for the rest of the game, in addition to the 8 that he already has. So again, 16.5. So really tough to find any prop bet value right now. Maybe in the receiving props, we can find some value. So let me go back over here to the receiving props and just start plugging in some numbers. I see Stephon Diggs at 96.5. I see Robert Woods at 31.5. We have NWI at 28.5. And we have, some of these things down here. That's why they're not up as values. This right here. I need to drag this down. That's what's going on. And we have Dawson Knox at 52.5. And Isaiah McKenzie at 36.5. So let's see if there's any receiving value here. It looks like the over for Isaiah McKenzie at 36.5 looks like some value here. So right now he has 28 yards, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, 28 yards. And we're projecting him rest of game for 17 yards. And that's because with Gabriel Davis out, definitely the workload has shifted. Isaiah McKenzie does seem to, even though he only had one catch for 28 yards, just with that increased workload with Gabriel Davis out, maybe the books aren't accounting for that enough. So I think our first bet is going to be Isaiah McKenzie to go over on his receiving yard prop. And I know that sounds weird because we're still projecting Buffalo to actually pass at a 14% lower rate. However, they're still going to be up tempo, and all it takes is one long catch. And Isaiah McKenzie does have that ability in him. So even though we're projecting his mean for 17.16, we're projecting his median a little bit less than that, but that still means we're expecting him to go over the 36.5 receiving yards. So a nice counterintuitive spot here to take advantage of. Books are probably projecting him down a little bit too far because they think Buffalo is going to run a lot. But we know Buffalo still throws in the second half. They still play a fast enough tempo in the second half. And with the Gabriel Davis injury, our first bet is going to be on the live halftime show, Isaiah McKenzie to go over the 36.5 receiving yard prop. I would probably bet this down, let's say maybe to, let's change this number here. Or sorry, bet this up to 38.5. So, I think there's enough value here with the way the workload distribution has been. Really, Jamison Crowder has not gotten involved at all in this game. So he hasn't been used. So the workload has really shifted more towards Kumaro and McKenzie, as well as Dawson Knox. But we're showing fair value on Dawson Knox's receiving prop here. That Isaiah McKenzie is where this workload has shifted to. So Isaiah McKenzie over his 36.5 yard prop is what we are going to bet. So that is our first bet on Bet What Happens Live for this halftime show. Looking around and trying to find any other value. Dawson Knox isn't really showing any value. We're not really showing any value on Derrick Henry's rushing yards. Let's see if there's any other rushing yard props that are showing value. So we've got Derrick Henry, we've got Devin Singletary at 40.5, showing fair value right there. Maybe just a slight edge to the over at 40.5. And then Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, not really going to touch those. Zach Moss, 12.5. Let's plug that one in for him. And maybe showing a little bit of value on the under there for Zach Moss. Now, there is a chance because they are so far ahead, maybe they bring in Moss as a backup role and get him a few more touches at the end of the game. So probably avoiding that one as well. Looking at the passing props, we are right in line with the market. I am seeing, unless it's moved, 223.5 for Tannehill. So showing some value on the over there, and 311.5. So spot on for Josh Allen. So maybe just a touch of value on the over for Ryan Tannehill, just because of their fact that they are trailing by so much. They will start the ball with the second half, etc. So if you want to go over on Ryan Tannehill, 223.5, we are projecting 232.8 for the rest of the game, with a 58% chance of going over. So there is a bit of value there if you can get it at 223.5. I wouldn't bet it any higher than 223.5. But if you can get it 223.5, I would make that bet, showing 58% chance of the over. They get the ball to start the half. So I think right now, those are the two bets that I would want to make. Everything else, and this, I talked about this coming into the game. There was on Green Dot Daily this morning, it was really hard because the market seemed so fair, and it seems to have adjusted really well. Even the Derrick Henry rushing prop has now adjusted to where we think it should be, which is the one I thought we might show value on the under for the second half still. So tough sledding, but Isaiah McKenzie over 36.5 receiving yards, and we're going to go with Ryan Tannehill over 223.5 passing yards as our two prop bets. And that's all I've got for you on this Bet What Happens. I'm going to go ahead and get ready for our next Bet What Happens live, which will be, of course, halftime of the game that's going on right now, Minnesota versus Philadelphia. So we'll see you all then for Bet What Happens live at halftime of the other game tonight. See y'all soon. Welcome back, everybody, to Ben's Live. We are live at halftime of the Eagles and the Vikings game. Eagles kicking a field goal there at the end of the half to make it a 24-7 game. So let's see where things stand here as I bring up my screen. And what we see is very first thing I notice, of course, is the passing attempts. Let's highlight those there. It looks like Minnesota is going to be passing about 6.3% more than their pregame projection, pregame rate, and then Philadelphia, of course, 8% less. And that makes sense with such a big lead. Philadelphia having essentially a 90% win probability per the betting market at this time. So, as always, we'd like to look at the pace stats. Unfortunately, with Minnesota, with a new coaching staff, we can't really trust these pace stats. What we can say for Philadelphia, when they have a big lead, they do play slower than average. They also play slower in the second half. So could see a little bit slower pace. And normally we see these total plays in the second half up around 5.5, something like that for more plays in the second half. So the fact that we're only seeing 1.1 right now shows it may actually be a little bit slower paced game. So, it's tough to say with the way, Minnesota has things going on here because of the new coaching staff, but there may be some potential value on a second half under here, especially with the Eagles playing slower with the lead. I think that's certainly something we could look at. So right now, the live total is 54.5 points, and I do see juice to the under. Right now, we currently stand at 31. So 54.5 would be another 23.5 if I can do my math on the fly correctly. And of course, pregame, we were right around 49.5. So, definitely it looks like the book is also leaning under in the second half compared to what we have. So probably don't want to bet that right now. So gonna pass on the full game total there. But I did want to at least take a look at that first because I thought there could be some potential interesting things with fewer total plays than we normally project. Normally this is around 5 to 7. 7 would be on like the high side. 5 would be like right around average. So the fact that we're only getting 1.1 more total plays in the second half than pregame projections actually means we're being slower in the second half than we normally would be. But apparently the books are accounting for that as well. So not going to bet any pregame totals. Right now, the live line is 13.5. Vikings, plus 13.5. Right now, they are down by 17. So essentially, you're going to say Minnesota is going to outplay Philadelphia here in the second half. That could happen because defenses tend to get a little bit softer when they have a big lead. There's a little bit of rubber band effect. So also going to pass on that one. But let's look at some player props over here. If I go to passing props and I look at passing yardage, we see Jalen Hurts projected for 335.5. We have Kirk Cousins 246.5. And look at this. We are projecting Kirk Cousins for 226.8 with a 57% chance of going under. Probably going to pass on that just because Minnesota is going to start with the ball and they are so far down that they're definitely going to be throwing. And as I mentioned, with the way the defenses get softer and we see that rubber band effect where Minnesota is more likely to actually come back and make up points in the second half because they're down 17, but 13.5 is a live line. Going to pass on that one, but maybe we can find some spots here in the passing game, noting that Kirk Cousins looks like he's going to go under that 246 and Jalen Hurts looks like he's going to go over that 335.5. So I'm going to look at some receiving props here, and we're just going to type in some numbers. So Dalvin Cook currently projected live line I see of 16.5. KJ Osborne, 35.5. We have Irv Smith, who had that nice long catch there for a touchdown at 16. Oh, not 16.5. 16.5 there. I think we've got Adam Thielen at 31.5. And we have Justin Jefferson at 82.5. So that's what I'm seeing right now. Oh, and Dallas Goddard at 87.5. 87.5 there for Dallas Goddard. So Dallas Goddard, 87.5. We're projecting that to go under. I think he's got 3 for 50. No, he's got 4 for 74. That's why. Missed one of those long receptions there at the end when I was trying to update everything. So, yeah, right there, break even on Goddard. Let's see what else we have in the passing game. I'm noticing pretty even here from Minnesota's receivers, so that's not ideal. Let's see. Oh, we need to come down here for Philadelphia's receivers. We got A.J. Brown at 51.5. 51.5. We got Devontae Smith at 78.5. We have Johnny Munt at 22.5. So looking for any value. Pretty tough sledding in the receiving game right now. Look at that. We're right spot on here as well. And this is another thing I talked about in Green Dot Daily this morning. This game I showed no value on whatsoever in Green Dot Daily other than KJ Osborne's anytime touchdown prop. So we're going to have to go over to rushing props because I'm seeing nothing in the receiving game that I am liking right now. And hey, it's okay to pass sometimes. Sometimes there just isn't value on a game. And the books have been in line with my model projections pregame, and it looks like currently in-game as well. So Dalvin Cook, 27.5 rushing yards. I am seeing 60.5 for Miles Sanders, and showing some value to Miles Sanders under here, it looks like. So they're showing 60.5. And right now, Miles Sanders has 29 rushing yards, and we're projecting him rest of game for 27. So that's a total of 56 rushing yards we're giving him. And of course, that's an average. Median's going to be a little less than that. And so the book is going 60.5. And yes, I know they're going to run more. Philadelphia, they are going to run more, right? 8% less passing. But that's still only 18 rush attempts, right? So 18 rush attempts, you have to figure some of those could go to Jalen Hurts. Also, potentially with such a big lead, it looks like some could go to potentially the backup running backs. So, you know, whether that's Byron Scott or Kenneth Gainwell, we could see rushes go to some of the other players as well. So I do like Miles Sanders under 60.5 rushing yards. That is going to be our prop bet right now for halftime. Also, showing value on Dalvin Cook's over, which I think is very interesting. It is counterintuitive to what we would think because, of course, Minnesota is going to pass more, but they are still projecting for a lot of rush attempts because they are a rush-heavy team. Projecting for 11 rush attempts. But Dalvin Cook, even though he's been stuffed for 3 for 3, he still projects to go over. Rest of game, we are projecting Dalvin Cook for 35 yards. That is mean. So median will be a little lower than that for sure, maybe around 32 yards. But 32 itself is over 27.5. Yes, 31 median. So our median projection for him is actually over the 27.5. So I would bet this up to 28.5 on Dalvin Cook and feel comfortable with that. So we're going to bet on the running backs in this game. We're going to bet on Miles Sanders under 60.5 yards. We're going to bet on Dalvin Cook over 27.5 yards. And again, we're going a little contrarian to where the game script is. And if the game is supposed to rubber band a little bit, as you know, the 13.5 current spread says, then it does make sense that Minnesota would run just a little bit more, or that Philadelphia would run just a little bit less. So Miles Sanders under makes sense. Dalvin Cook's over. I think books might be over adjusting these situations. Teams do tend to stick with their game plan a little bit more until really late in the game. So that's where I'm going to go as my two bets for Philadelphia versus Minnesota on Bet What Happens Live. That's all I got for you. We're going to go enjoy the second half. Hopefully, we go 3 for 4 tonight at least. I'm checking the Titans here. Ryan Tannehill has been pulled, so we're losing that one. But hopefully we'll go 2 for 2 and go 3 for 4 tonight. Good luck. Enjoy the second half of Philadelphia versus Minnesota, everyone.